everyone. Let me make sure that the volume is good. I bought a new microphone, but I haven't hooked it up yet. I've noticed that my voice travels. It's actually pretty loud. And if I'm sitting close enough to the phone, you will hear me pretty well. And you can always increase your volume, all of that good stuff. But yes, her story. And I've noticed too, right? Just because you hear more women now coming to the forefront. It's great. I'm seeing the wrong women being the loudest, though, outside of these spheres, and who have like the biggest following. I've noticed too are the ones who are the more popular. And not to say you need to talk loud to get your point across, but it is good to have confidence in what you're saying, having conviction, having some personal experience, doing your due diligence, compare to other people, maybe in your peer group and things like that, and even younger, because, trends kind of go across different generations and whatnot. So, it's very important to listen to both sides of every story, right? And they say even sometimes there's three, right? And, there is, depending on your belief system, a higher power that is the tiebreaker at the end of all of it. Because people can go down in history fighting over whatever topic, and it doesn't matter who's right or wrong at that point. It's just some people's need to be right can be so self-destructive to the point that, if they think that they're going to get more attention or views or whatnot, it could be something that is catastrophic to other people, and maybe they don't even ascribe to that in reality, right? So there's a way of looking at things and of listening to the right people, because there are some women who, just talk out of their bumhole and say whatever, even if they don't have any firsthand experience, if their facts don't really line up, if it's more like rhetoric. And we need to, bring back, healthy living and healthy relationships from the start, instead of battling all of the extras and people just think, oh, things are not going to change and all of this. Well, with that attitude, no kidding, it's not going to change, right? So, I mean, really, all you have to do is go out every day and look at something that you can try to elevate, and you can see that someone else is going through something worse than you, and you can see that, hey, if people cared so much, they'd get up and do something about it and help out people that are struggling. I mean, just, out doing my errands, coming back, I seen this dark-skinned gentleman, and it snowed heavy yesterday. Like, we got some accumulation, and he was sitting at the meridian of the street, and he had like a case of water and this big coat, and I just felt for him. Sometimes I don't have cash, I just have my card or whatever, and you always put in these like cross sections of life. Like, I always look at things like a metaphor, right? And it's so easy to it's interesting because I was watching like a movie yesterday too, and there was like a scene, and it's almost like deja vu vibe. Sometimes it's like life is but a dream, let me tell you. And so I was, at the red light, and so I just dug in my pocket, and I just had, a couple of loose dollars, and I was like, oh, stay warm, sweetheart, you know what I mean? And it's like, someone come get him, and like, where is his family? Where is his tribe exactly? Everyone's so fragmented, and it can happen to anybody, and it's not fun until, you know what I mean? It's all fun and games until you're in that position. So like, my heart, of course, I was like, oh my gosh, like, and I'm thinking my day is, I was, doing the most to try to get to my appointment and all of this stuff. And it's like our little issues pale in comparison to people who are really going through it. And it's usually the people that are supposed to be around them and be a support system are not there. And that's the problem. And in this country, all you do too now, it's like on the news, all negative, all negative. You don't hear one story about anyone doing anything positive for anyone, and people are like loving it. It's like hate porn, like Move over fear porn. Now we got hate porn that people are like salivating. And it says more about the people ingesting it and enjoying it and cackling about it than it does even with, you know what I mean, the people who are promoting it. I'm going to do a sound check. Make sure you like the video. I don't like doing videos not knowing if I'm muted. So I'm just going to check real quick on my computer. Just because I asked you guys, but it's like sometimes I don't give a heads up when I'm coming on. So I just sometimes don't know how my day's going. And as Monday is my day off, I do a bunch of stuff. And if I can fit this in, that's great, you know. It's not like mandatory. I'm trying to get a whole new setup going anyway. So let me just make sure. Because when I do ask, like, hey guys, you know, just say something in the chat. So anyways, yeah, I kind of wanted to go into this topic a little bit. It's very important to hear both sides of the story. But there's some people that I wouldn't listen to because they're just pushing hate porn. They're not really trying to help anybody's situation or give any real guidance because then themselves don't have the results that they're looking for. So they're deep down bitter. Instead of how the kids would say, big mad, we're going to say big bitter. Big bitter. You're all a big bitter. Let's see. I'm trying to find my landing page here. Just going to do a sound check, nothing crazy. Come on, computer. I know, you must be cold too. Is that it? All right, let's me check it right now. I know, it always cuts my thumbnail. So it was a full thumbnail too. Weird. Maybe if I do it from the computer, it won't cut it. I can just go back in and fix it. Let me check. All right, so we're good. I always like to do a sound check. Make sure you guys say hi if you're in the room. How are you? So anyways, yeah, so there was some channels that I used to support, but I stopped doing that now. This one crazy lady, her name was Jules, and you know, there were other content creators that supported her too at first, like, oh, she's all about women and all that. And a lot of women, they're weird. It's like you can just smell like the narcissism. And, you know, I wasn't saying anything when people were picking on her, like, oh, you're making all these videos trying to act like you're young and all this stuff. Like, because that's how, you know, people do, right? When you try to, you know, show a little bit of self-esteem, right? But the more she was getting support from other cultures, the more she was like going crazy on them and using them for content. And that really like left like a bad vibe. I was like, I'm good with this crazy lady because she is just pushing hate porn. She's bitter. And I think she was the side chick in her last thing. So like some of those women too, like one of the, you know, the ones that speak the loudest, have like the biggest, whatever, because, you know, they're so controversial. They'll say the craziest things and they'll use other people. And they always got to use, you know, there's a fine line between like doing reaction videos and just straight being like a piece of shit and just talking about other people and trying to use them for your content. Because you can't just sit there, you know what I mean, and just pick a topic and just talk and, you know, engage with your audience or just do a quick video or whatever. So there's really no lesson anymore being learned, like, oh, you know, against violence against women. Some of these people would use certain forums and they would draw in other women who, you know, been victims of domestic violence or were witness to it growing up, like whatever. And then you'll see like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden they'll like corral, you know, some people in and be like, we got nothing to do with you. You don't care about whatever. It's like, who the hell are you to say anything? You don't know anybody's background. they could have been in a very diverse background since they were a child. Like, let's not even go there, and be doing more for their neighbor than these people. And some of them were, legendary home wreckers and everything else. And now all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, and they're so negative, and about the opposite sex, but yet, they look at everyone like a potential boogeyman. So it's like, yeah, people like that are never going to have a healthy relationship. It's more about them. So, and then you got, other people like Pearl and stuff. It's like, oh, no marriage and this. And you got all these content creators, and it's like, hey, to each their own. But for a younger person, it's like, don't put your baggage on me. And I'm seeing a lot of younger people saying that. And I've been counseling some people too. Sometimes their parents almost like self-sabotage because they started early, and then when they're in a healthy relationship, young, they're like, oh, I can see them projecting. And I'm like, you can live your own life and have respect and just be like, hey, because if you can start young and have something real, that's even better too. And build on that and build like, a life, a legacy, right? And you have that trust. And it's like, no matter which way, you try to say it, it's like everyone got a problem with it. It's like what people want is everyone to be asexual. Like what? Just stop masturbating. Like that's what these people want for these guys or these girls. Like what is going on, right? And I'm like, I'm feeling bad because I'm like, whoa, like how does that play? It's at the end of the day, it's all about liking the person, because one day you're both going to grow old. Like, face it, I don't care how much you try to dodge it, man or woman or whatever, and it's someone that has your back. And we've all been in situations too where you've seen people that you're like, oh, how did they get together? Well, how is that your business? Maybe they liked each other. They could have, their spirits could have aligned really well. It could have been like that nice yin and yang situation where one would allow space for the other, to be themselves, to be a woman, to, you know what I mean? A lot of guys are in competition with women, sadly. So it makes the women really defensive. And when you can smell that on certain people, and it's like, what do you mean? So I've noticed too that it could be a cultural thing, but also it can span in all different types. So I do not discriminate because I've seen it with other cultures too, where people don't respect it. They push polygamy and all this other stuff. But meanwhile, people, you don't know people like that. I mean, especially post 2020 when everybody was like a germaphobe, to go right back and act like, oh, just be whatever willy nilly. It's like a destruction. It's like a recipe for destruction. Like people will get, you know what I mean, incurable diseases and everything else. And, the people that were vaccinated, what was in that stuff, right? So it's in their system. It could have changed something with their biology and everything else. So like there's so many things. It's so wild how everyone was so militant before and careful. And I think that's a whole scam in itself, to just, maybe to boost the medical system or boost the next, craze or whatever. So people need to be careful. And there's issues that span any type of, group or ethnicity and can affect everyone every day. So like, I don't understand. So that's why I think that a lot of people are just, here for their own publicity, however, and it's not, they'll come in the guise of something like, super humanitarian, but then you're like, okay, really? Only about the ones that you choose, right? And the ones that go so hard, like that lady with the channel, they'll be the first ones to preach divesting. Well, don't go into the other side trying to think you're going to get a quick lick, because a lot of women are aware of that, and a lot of men, and they're going to be like, hey, just know what it is, right? They think they're going to come over here and score something because of all this, intermediary issues. So as someone who is trying to be like, oh, okay, girl code or whatever you think, is like, yeah, that doesn't even exist on here. It's like fictitious, and it's from the other side. It's not from the side that people try to say it is. It's all BS, right? Because you can, cut that thing, you can cut it through with a freaking butter knife at this point, right? It's like, please. And at this point, it's like, you know what? People are going to say what they're going to say, but when they use certain titles and buzzwords, it's like, yeah, if a certain groups are so bad, stop using them in your titles. Oh, again, it's okay to exploit people for money and do whatever, but if it happens to you, you don't like it. okay, that's how it is. So no matter what, whoever is the so-called leader would not be benevolent. Is that where we're going with this, right? And so we're seeing that more and more, right, play out right before us, and like hopefully people with more common sense can see through it. And it has to be the right type of people too, like the right type of women to have their point of view of their experiences so they can guide the next people in a healthy way, right? Not in a fictitious way, because you talk to a bunch of disgruntled divorcees or men or whatever, and it benefits sometimes a man having versa, so they kind of play up on that, and you'll see that play out in a lot of these different channels. So is it all marketing? Of course it is. And who are the suckers? Are the people who are eating it up and letting it play out into their own life, right? And not realizing that, they're just shooting themselves in the foot. They're the ones that got to live with the consequences thereafter, and if you just listen to half of these people, you're going to be misled, right? Because, a lot of them just put veneers on, a pile of crap. They give you these false things like, oh, there's nothing real in this world. It's all like doomer. It's all like, oh my gosh, everyone cheats and everyone does this. That is like so not true. And if that's what you manifest in your own life, that's what you're going to get in your own life, because that's what you lead with. And in my respect, it's like that tells you that your value is so low, you don't even care about your health. You don't even care about, your safety. You don't even care about your reputation. And, that's going to put a lot of women in precarious situations. And a lot of them are coming online. You're seeing story after story where people are trying to use it for content or make fun of stepdads and all that. I think there should be like a national stepdad day, because I've seen men change lives of people. It's all about the good men. The evil will proliferate when the good men stand by and do nothing, right? That was a quote from Edmund Burke. And I think that some of these podcasters are there to try to corrupt any of the so-called few good men left, right? And be like, oh, you know what I mean? This and this is going to happen. Just because certain things happen to you, if you go in a situation with good intention and you both are like, okay, especially marriage, that's something that's supposed to be a lifetime, okay? And it's funny how in certain groups it's taken seriously, and others it's like so passe. It's like, oh, it doesn't mean too much. I can still have, an open situation. And it's like, wow, people just don't, what is the point? You might as well just have a platonic thing, right? And, that's the only thing that makes any sense with some people when they're like, oh, I want to just stay single. Okay, fine. Like, do not deceive anyone. Don't, lead them down any, points where, they're thinking something's going to materialize. So I'm always about transparency. But a lot of people don't start off like that. A lot of people, especially a lot of guys, take like their perception and don't see like those same things can happen to women and do all the time, where women can be like, oh, didn't think this was that serious, but then it became that serious. And you know what I mean? You rose to the occasion. Some people, they'll get cold feet and they'll leave and they will cause whatever drama. There's people that are going to do different things in different situations. Not everyone has the same heart, obviously. If someone even has one, right? It's so easy to point and be like this and this and this. Like, have you even been close to that situation? Okay. And instead of bringing more, it's funny how the Republicans are looking for more government intervention, right? Speaking like the true Democrats they are on the inside, right? If anything, that's why I'm a libertarian, because I'm all about, freedom, with common sense or whatever, because these Republicans now are like, oh yeah, you should get, monitored for child support and all of this different stuff. The more government intervention, the more women are going to be like, I'm not doing this in the first place, because a lot of the times it was the men who push the women into situations and the first ones to say that they want to have kids right away, right? So, we'll just see how the stats play out with more of this rhetoric, because it's just all it's doing is scaring people not to do anything. How's that benefiting the podcaster? Obviously, it's about the New World Order. They're about reducing the numbers. the Georgia Guidestone. They want to reduce the population. So any of this rhetoric, even if it sounds benign under the veneer of being conservative, is still practicing like a policy where you're not reproducing, like even if it's under the excuse of whatever threat or whatever situation that could arise, right? To scare the person into be like, oh, I guess I shouldn't do it because all of this and that could paralyze the person, right? And it should be an individual choice. A lot of the stuff that's being talked about is private and should have remained private between two people, right? And a lot of things that are private and are, the home business is becoming public, and that's, where things can come, become real problematic too, because you're not supposed to do that. And you can see the ramifications, right? It's good to share certain things, but people are just like overdoing it, and they're making the mistake of using their own personal experience like that is what's going on in the general population, and it's just not correct, okay? Because you got a lot of the other podcasters that are like, yeah, just get an older person, and it's like life is more than just satiating your stupid desires and stuff. It's like at the end of the day, a lot of things can go wrong, and people can change their minds because they have agency. And if you go in a situation with bad intention, man or a woman, things can turn around real fast. So you better have like a plan for yourself and be self-sufficient and do whatever you can in your own capacity, and stop looking at the next person and seeing how you're going to get like a quick whatever. Okay. And that could be physical, emotional, mental, financial. It doesn't matter. Right. And, so real love comes from doing something because you want to do it for that person, because you care about that person, and you want to express it in different ways of doing nice things for each other. That just comes out naturally. And if you have that instinct where you don't want to do anything, well, can you really connect with other people? Are you even ready to be in a relationship? Maybe you're too selfish. There's nothing wrong with analyzing yourself as well too, and taking your time and being realistic, right? And everyone thinks it's like, okay, some people are not entitled to intimacy and sex if they're gonna like try to detach people from the act. That is very demonic, and of course you're seeing the ramifications of that. Okay, again, the number of abortions have skyrocketed over 1 million. I mean, we're making history every day, and it's like, how many times do we gotta try to preach to these kids? It's like, okay, have a serious situation, practice abstinence, okay, be careful with the birth control. And if there's male birth control that needs to be pushed, then that's what needs to be pushed, because women are hurting their bodies. And if it's that important to a guy, he needs to do what he has to do. And teaching how to be like respectful and to try to be monogamous, because that's the most like valid thing for your body. Because people don't realize, it's like, how can you detach your mind like that from your body? It's like, that's why people have so many health problems, and women especially too. And ladies, you really got to ask yourself, do I like this guy, or am I just ovulating? Okay. These are real discussions, because a lot of women, they don't realize like why. They look back like, how was I attracted to this person? Or how did this happen? And it's like, yeah, because women are not even taught really young, like, hey, certain times of the month, you could be feeling like this. You could have vitamin deficiencies. I have a little chart here. I can read a little. That could make you, want crave certain things or be repulsed by certain things. And they say even, what do they say? Be attracted to so-called beta men, they say, with the birth control, which I find it funny, because if that's the case, right, a lot of guys who call themselves alpha are really beta, because they conceived children while the mom was on and off her birth control, which is very interesting, right? So it shows here with like, there's like a little chart too. If you have low vitamin A levels, you'll have like dry hair, you'll feel fatigued, your eyes will burn. Sometimes people, when they see me do my car videos, they think whatever, like, listen, I do not drink. I am literally super tired when I'm in my car leaving work or whatever. So sometimes I could just be so fatigued, I didn't eat or something, and then I have to like replenish myself. So people can think whatever they want. It's totally fine with me. Because when you know it's not true, it doesn't affect you. Um, Night blindness, sinus and nasal trouble, infections, allergies, things like that. So, like vitamin A levels. Let me check something, guys. I shall be right back. Just got a package delivered. I'll go get it in a second. I'm about to. This is only going to be like a shorter video. I'm surprised they're even delivering packages today. I didn't think I was getting any mail. So you can be tired, night blindness. So vitamin A is really important. It's good for tissue repair. If you're low with B, you also dull hair, insomnia. So being low just on vitamins alone will have you like going through like, so just learning the body is so important. And so most people don't realize too, it's like, hey, there's a lot of times of the month too, you could be, feeling a certain way, or you could be prone to wanting to eat certain foods or want to do certain things. And then other times you're like, yeah, I know, you're like repulsed by it, right? So that's really interesting too, how, women can change like that. So it's very important to break that down. But yes, it's definitely interesting to see like some of the different people that are out there. I used to listen to certain people like Dr. Rodney or Rodney. I think it's been a while. It's been a while, guys. Sorry, but she was like going into narcissism and all of that stuff. There was spiritual whistleblower and things like that. And when I first started, and yeah, there's some people I still really support, and there are others that I don't really have time like that, like because I've started my own way too, and my lifestyle has changed. I've just been working more outside the home and less remotely, so I just haven't had time to watch people like that. But if their videos pop up, I'll still show support. And people still watch Tony Gaskins. He seems to be like an honest guy, married and all this stuff. But anytime you give people shout outs, sometimes they'll switch up on you. So I'm careful not even to do that. And it's like, it's so weird how people can be. And not to say, he said anything's, been nice thus far, but people, once they get like, if you say one thing, people will try to forward videos to each other. It's so strange. If anything, all it does sometimes is help us network and connect with people. It's like, oh, okay, you know who's who. And at least it's better than some of the, clowns who are like, oh, all women are bad, or, mothers are this and all of that, and not holding the men accountable and making all these presumptions like, oh, stepdads are last. And I can do a whole segment just on that too. The women that I know in my life, and, the life that I've lived myself too. I've seen a lot of step parents who didn't get the credit they deserve. Sometimes it's mainly from the children. Sometimes they appreciate them so much. And I always tell women, to always appreciate a man who comes into your life and he's, serious, and he loves you enough that, you know what I mean? He will take you at that point in time. It's like, of course, in a perfect world, you guys would have met each other at this space or an earlier time, an earlier place. But, life happens for a reason. And if you, intersected at a crossroad and you met said person and you guys vibed and you guys care about each other and you're ready, to do life together, that is a beautiful thing. And I think that those men should be commended because they've improved so many lives. And the more that, you have some of these people trying to make it like it's such a bad thing, I think it's doing a disservice to some of those honorable men who are like the ones who repaired the broken families that a lot of selfish people left behind. and stepmoms too. And it's sad because in a lot of movies they make it like, oh, these people are so evil, and like the parents are they're coming in between the parents, but sometimes they're dragged into a situation where the parents could be toxic with each other, and it's like they're just there trying, you know what I mean? So as an adult, when you look at some of this stuff, you have to have a level of insight, right, to like kind of see through it, and someone has to be ready for it, and have enough love at the end of the day. And how I look at it, look at love like a whole separate being. Okay, before you get into a situation, before you get a house together or a child or whatever, if you don't have love as a fixture to like oxygen that goes into the home, that goes into the situation, as an anchor, as the generator, there's no point of anything, because that's what motivates people to want to get up and do things, and you know what I mean, do anything worthwhile in this world, is really that is the X factor that people love to ignore. Okay, really is love. Like, you can, it's hard to quantify, qualify, but if you will see, like, why would people do certain, people will do like amazing things, even animals, helping to save other animals or to dive into, you know what I mean? And you've seen it's funny how guys are like, oh, choose the bear. Have you seen a mama bear and how ferocious she can be when it comes to her cubs? That she will put herself in harm's way in front of traffic, whatever, to make sure that they're safe. Or if they see anybody getting too close to them, they like freak out. So, I mean, what does that tell you? Okay. So it's really important to listen to a woman's side of the story, and with history too, especially with the Catholic Church. They took out so many books in the Bible, and if you look at it, I mean, they teach, they preach that the priest cannot have a wife. I mean, if that's not, a hidden fight club as it is there, I don't know what is, right? And there's such a dichotomy because, they, one hand, they're like, yes, marriage, and a lot of those people end up staying together for a long time. But at the same time, there is a lot of confusion, because you'll have, the Catholics who are like telling the men, none of that, and having them deny themselves, right? And what that can lead to, right? It's just so unnatural. And taking the whole feminine property out of the whole of creation. There's many books that showed that the feminine, the Holy Spirit was feminine, the Ruach HaKodesh, there's different ways to pronounce it, where, the breath of life was like a feminine. And so there was an agency that's feminine. You don't hear much about female angels or women in action. It's all of these, so you can see how it's been stripped. A lot of the feminine roles out of history, out of, certain books are hidden, and it's just like a male dominated thing where the women are like, I mean, have you seen some of the women in like the oppression they had to live in, like wearing shawls all the time and like not being able to be heard? And just like, there's different things there, but yet they're the ones who would be recording history and seeing it from their point of view. So there's a lot of women out there who are like walking encyclopedias and history, herstory books, right? Because, they have, an account of, the version of, the women's perspective too, right? And so all you're hearing, a lot of it is like male perspective. Even if it's coming from women, it's from the mind of a male perspective, and not, and if you're a judge in the courtroom, you're going to listen to both sides, okay? At the end of the day, a lot of the stuff is mutually agreed, or, you know what I mean? It's whoever shows more good faith or more stability and everything else. And the rest of it is, whatever. And a lot of people are not making what they think they are. So yeah, there's no type of cash grab or anything. It's disgusting. All that's doing is hurting the children who listen to this shit and think that there's any merit to that. And it's complete horse shit, okay? And it took a lot of love to, make a lot of things happen that people couldn't even imagine. People can't even wash their ass right half the time. And they're talking about how people should be freaking living their lives with no real hard anything, okay? And that's the funny part. And how God is so good. It's like the people who are so quick to laugh first, to say whatever first, are the ones who are going to be the ones to cry later, right? And the ones that they're, picking on are the ones who are going to be redeemed. You know what I mean? The ones who are making it, the ones who are still being preserved and have some damn sense about them, okay? Regardless of what they saw. And they just, learn how to make the best of it and have been thriving that much better. It's like amazing, right? And it's all about your attitude, right? It really is, because you can be in any situation and look at the negative constantly and like, okay, what part did you play in it? Did you give it all that you could? Were you in there just to play games? Were you in there to, you know what I mean? So like, everyone is an adult until it's time to back up what they're saying. Do not play adult games if you can't deal with the adult consequences. But a lot of the advice on here is just what you're gonna like push everyone to be atypical, asexual, and go, okay, be monks, shave all their heads, go in a room somewhere. Isn't that in the book of Ezekiel where all the guys came together and they were like in a circle jerking off? They were doing the abominations. God's like, go see what they're doing. Go peek. Do you see the abomination they're doing in these temples? Mm-hmm. And in Greek and Roman times, they were doing the weirdest stuff in the temples. They had bathhouses. This doing that. They do that under different names to this day. Just know what it is. A lot of these people are just trying to destroy people's lives. They do it under this guise of, thinking they're witty or everything else, but anybody with any real sense can see through it. And I think a lot of these people are going to be on a downhill spiral soon, and a lot of their lies are going to be exposed. And if people want to watch certain people, just, if you like them and whatever, you don't have to agree with them. That's one thing. But to like use any of what they're saying as any type of philosophy or way of life is really just a detriment to yourself, because they're not speaking for everyone at all. They're just speaking from their own hate and fear vantage point is what they're doing. And they're just showing their ass without realizing that's what they're doing, is showing their ass. But I've seen, the good and bad in many different people. And I, for one, think that if a woman's in a situation and a guy is stepping up, you got to make him the main focus, because it's going to be you two at the end. Even if you guys are married and have kids too and all of that, a lot of people will take the eyes off each other and will focus just on the kids, but they will get to a certain age and they're going to leave and they're going to make their own life. And if you go at each other and you make it about, okay, you forget the focus, the core, and you let yourself get distracted, there'll be like one crack after another. And yeah, you're going to find yourself, on opposing sides we're not even trying to be. And so it's so important to keep that core, not, to neglect the kids or anything like that. No, I don't care if you're in a blended family. Everyone should be really good. The Brady Bunch, everyone should like work together and have a fair, fair say or whatever. But at the same time, you can't let them dictate your life, because sometimes they could be going through adolescence or, you know what I mean, be rambunctious or have the most to say or be disrespectful. And it can be hard. And unless you guys have each other's backs and, you enforce like, hey, you should have respect. This person cares about you. They do this. You know what I mean? Like, then, that's the only way it's going to work. You know what I mean? You got to do that respectfully and make sure, because at the end of the day, it's just going to be you two guys again, and you're going to have like a second life. And, you still you can have fun and do all of those things. But in the meantime, you don't want to lose that while you're going through the process. And I think a lot of people should, kind of communicate that with each other. And I think that can help save a lot of relationships, and to teach people like, hey, if you don't want to do it the right way, don't do it at all. You know what I mean? This is what it has been from millennia, right? There has been a lot of things that have been suppressed because there's certain people in power doing, it only benefits, certain individuals, having certain agendas, but it doesn't have to be your own. You can make it more, down to earth and accessible for you, having someone that you work well together and you look past like superficial stuff, but you still have like a connection, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's perfect for you, and vice versa. And everyone has to see their own flawed humanity too before they're so quick to talk about the next person. Because what might not be for right for you is right for the next person. So people, need to really look at it like that too, and stop making blanket statements for the world at large. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining me. Until next time, we'll pick this up when I have more time, of course. I'm deciding if I'm going to go out to dinner tonight. Maybe enjoy the rest of my day off. I hope that you guys too. I will be, revamping some things. I'm starting another channel as well too. Not going to disclose some of my names. Don't want anybody to go and try to take it or anything like that, anything crazy. But stay tuned for that. And yeah, definitely have your own mind. Just because something happened with one person doesn't mean it's going to happen with you. You don't know all the details. They didn't say how they did wrong. A lot of people, regardless, will give like a sterilized version of the events. And of course, because it's just whoever's closest to them is just going to buy into it, especially if they're, you know what I mean? So you have to have common sense, like, hey, you know what I mean? Yeah, it took two or whatever. And if, you know what I mean, you have to have a level of maturity about yourself and not put yourself in certain situations if you're not ready for certain situations. And there's nothing wrong with going home early, just getting to know someone. If you see that they're talking crazy, or if they have double standards, or if they're from certain cultures and they're like, oh, it's okay for me not to be faithful, but you have to be faithful, be like, yeah, get out of here. That's definitely some type of like spiritual vampire. And then you'll have like girls from like that group trying to come into other groups, like, listen, it's the person's character, it doesn't mean anything like per se, but there are certain cultures where they make that more accessible, and that's just, that's not okay for just whoever. And the more I'm listening to, me and a coworker were going over this, there was like the 90s songs playing. And there was that song, Baby, I Get Excited, Too Close. That song, Too Close, Dancing Too Close. I'd have to look it up, who sings that song. But all these songs are just like innuendos to like get down, get busy. And like there were probably like 12-year-olds like listening to this stuff. And a lot of the music it's like hypnotic. They put the bullshit in there, and all they're doing is teaching, like, doing dumb stuff, growing up too fast. And it's like, yeah, the music is definitely like a source of like a lot of the poison. And like some of that should be cleaned up and evaluated. And if you like listen to it enough, yeah, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, it's okay. Yeah, everybody's doing it. Like, you know what I mean? It started with that too. So people, need to be mindful, and, their kids, what they're listening to and all of that stuff, and just know, like, if anything, let them know, like, hey, prevention, or like the what ifs, but, not to scare them or whatever, but, just to keep them prepared. But if they're in a relationship, a healthy relationship, and they're in their early 20s, and you can see them, be a cute couple and go in the distance, I wouldn't dissuade that either. I would be like, that's great. If that's someone that can ride with you now, go for it. You know what I mean? And that's a beautiful thing if you can make it happen. All right, guys. That was my take for today. Hope you have a good one. We'll pick up next time, and I'll talk